I think where the people are going with this, and I saw this a couple times today, was, first it was supposed to be like $500 million for Bellator. And then it was going to be, I had heard it, around 220, 215, 215 million, 225 million, somewhere around there as well. And it just kind of seemed like it kept getting lower. Now we're just talking, basically, it was just all stock.
Well, it was stock trade plus a minority ownership.
Yeah.
It comes down to this, Josh. It really, and this is what, let's just be honest about this. When you knowing what we knew from the back end of Bellator is, you had a company in what was Viacom, was Paramount. They didn't know what to do with Bellator, because let's go back in time. When they bought Bellator, they had a guy named Kevin Kay working for him. And Kevin Kay was the guy who was in charge of Spike TV when The Ultimate Fighter was put on Spike TV. And that was when Lorenzo Fertitta was paying money, a lot of money, for the production of the show and for the time on Spike TV. Then you had the tough finale, and you had the Bonner versus Griffin, and all of a sudden, boom, they wanted to, have the UFC on Spike TV. And Kevin Kay was the guy who put that deal together, the famous deal in the back of the Cox Pavilion thing, right? And Kevin Kay has been a part of basically MMA ever since. When Kevin Kay, tried to keep the UFC on Spike TV, and the UFC moved, actually losing a little bit of money doing it, but moved to Fox because they looked at it like it was a bigger platform for their promotion. I don't blame them for doing it. Kevin Kay was kind of stuck there, and he had the rights to the UFC for a year. And you remember, he kind of ran things against them. He counter programmed them with big fights that, he could play what he wanted. But then he ended up, basically getting Viacom to purchase, a remaining share of Bellator and make them the owners of Bellator. And everything was great, and that's about the time you and I came over. Right. And then about a year and a half later, they let go of Kevin Kay.
Yeah.
And from that point, Bellator was lost within the entire structure of Paramount Plus,
CBS Sports,
the whole Viacom. Yeah. The whole Viacom family. And that's why Bellator moved around from being on Spike to being on CBS Sports, then Showtime again. And they didn't know what to do with it, because they didn't have someone within the company of Paramount to really have an idea of what to do with it and where it should go and how to make it better.
Well, they don't normally own the properties, the sports properties that are on their network. So they just didn't know how to, do I put this on CBS Sports and take up a time slot that I'm going to get paid to have pickleball on? You know what I mean? Like, it's
pickleball.
Yeah. I mean, like, most of these, they're paying to be on their platform, or they're working out a deal with something for sponsors to pay them to have that product on there. But when you own that product, who's paying to have that product on that platform?
You are.
And
exactly.
So,
and that was like, well, this is weird. And
yeah,
they didn't have anybody that had the background to really take it over. And it just, they kind of just put it on the back burner. They let it, they knew it was there. They got some content from it at times, but they didn't even want that content. And it just kind of floundered there. So you look and you say, when you have, it's kind of like having, when you're a kid with a toy, or an adult with, a car or something like that. How much is that toy worth? How much is that car worth when you don't use it? And it just sits.
Yeah.
That's really what you had. It's just sitting there, and it's like, I really don't, I don't use it. I don't know what to do with it. So, I mean, to me, for them to basically let it go for stock, if that's what you want, hey, that's your business.
Yeah.
You know your business way better than I do, but I would say that's better than letting it flounder without you having an idea of what to do with it.
Yeah, I was torn, because you believe in the product that that you kind of felt like I came up with, even though I was with the Strike Force, UFC, Strike Force, Dream, Pride, all this, right? But I started like kind of working into this career of being an analyst and developing more of a connection with the fighters. And that's a big deal because when you're a fighter, you really just care about the people in your weight class. And sure, you're friends with the other fighters. You guys meet up at, later in the lobby of the hotel bars, and you guys, will occasionally go get food together. That's kind of the extent of it. It kind of camps kind of stay within their camps.
Sure.
Like I train with these guys. These are guys I hang out with when I go to a live event. And it's no different than our production team, right? We get done and we all just kind of hang out. So I just felt like I was coming up with this generation of fighters. I don't know how many since the purchase happened. I've had so many fighters reach out to me like, man, I hope you stay with. I hope you and John both. They've all brought you up as well. They're like, I hope you and John for sure stay with. They're like, like everyone from Patchy Mix to Johnny Eblin to, to everyone. There's so many, to Jason Jack, everyone's kind of reached out and been like, hey man, I hope you guys come along. And I'm like, look, man, we don't know. I let the dust settle, see what happens. Look, if I'm someone who owns a company, the priority is making sure that the fighters, we talk with them, we get them settled in. That's our product. Absolutely. And you know what I mean? So, and I think that's what they've done already. I've heard is that they've already reached out to all the champions. They're working on deals to get them flown in to the event coming up this weekend. And they want
I think Ariel Helwani made that as a suggestion.
Yeah, well, all the fighters will be there this weekend. So except for one's not going to be there that I know of right now, but the rest are all going to be there. So they're good for them. That's how you want to do it to start off. That's a good step in the right direction. Sure. You don't want to damage that bridge when you first get started. Don't start burning
bridges.
Yeah, don't start making things a little weird. But one of the champions can't make it right now. He's got something already booked, but yeah, the rest of them should all be there from what I understand. So good for them. That's a good step in the right direction. I think that's smart play. Get them there front row. Let them understand how special they are and how great they are. And I'm looking forward to that. So that's like one of the things. So the finances, no money changed hands. Paramount part owners in the PFL. So there is a small percentage owner of that. Does that diminish the brand of the Bellator? No, absolutely not. It doesn't, because look, the brand is the fighters. So that's it. When I look at what Bellator was, their fighters are still there. You've got the only fighter that right now, because his contract was up, was MVP. And so he will not be coming over in the trade, but all the other fighters will be coming over in the purchase. I said trade. Sorry about that, because I know how people like to use my words against me right now.
Not a trade.
So it wasn't a trade.
We're not going with a trade. No. We're going with an acquisition.
Yes. And so, they're just going to talk, like there's going to be a lot of talk and speculation of what Dana said, like why would anyone want to do it? Why would anyone want to buy it?
100% agree.